ice has dropped here on a Wednesday morning in Atlanta, Georgia. Soccer down here for Halloween, October 31st. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. Crazy night last night in the Copa Libertadores, and we will get to that. 13 minutes of stoppage time, managers defying bans from the touchline and the locker room. We had riot police. We had a late comeback on the road that saw River Plate move on to the Copa Libertadores final, where it could be a Super Clasico final if Boca Juniors holds up their end of the bargain tonight, and Buenos Aires ain't ready for that. I don't know if anybody's ready for that. That will be absolute chaos. And for Atlanta United fans, there will be lots of eyeballs on it because Guillermo Barros Schelotto has a chance to get Boca to the final tonight as the manager. Pity Martinez dragged River Plate to the final last night with a goal and an assist in the final 10 minutes. Came on at halftime. He was pretty ridiculous, but that's Pity. So you watched some Copa Libertadores last night, John. What did you think of the madness?
I think that's probably the best word to use. And seeing this sea of Gremio colors in the lower bowl, and you couldn't quite tell from Fox Deportes if they were all standing. I imagine they were, even the folks, not just in the end zones, but all the way around. And so, of course, I'm watching early second half. It's 1-0 Gremio. And I'm going, okay. All right, I see what's going on here. River Plate's being frustrated and can't quite get it done. So, of course, then I look away and come back when I see on social media riot police, helmets, 13 minutes of stoppage time, Pity Martinez, and the set piece that drew things before the penalty kick was just absolutely ridiculous too, as PT comes on at the half. And I will say this was my first exposure to Libertadores. And if it's going to continue to be like this, consider myself hooked and watching at any opportunity to see football like this just because of the madness that is attached.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a different thing, and I've seen a lot of people talk about like watching it and there's riot police and there's this, and this is why I want to watch it. Look, watch it because it's great soccer. I mean, watch it because it's a great match and it's great rivalry and great passion and that. I mean, the rest of it is just part of the deal. As many of the South American Twitter folks in my feed were saying to Americans who are watching this for the first time, look, this is a Tuesday in the Copa Libertadores. This is what happens. Just, this is how it's played. These are the passions that are on display. These are the things that happen in these matches, especially as you get to the semifinals. So, it's great soccer. I could care less about all the dramatics and riot police and everything else involved. It adds to the spectacle, but the game itself, it's great soccer. And it's the kind of soccer that, again, I don't think it's crazy for the United States to want to emulate in a lot of ways. And River Plate is one of the grandes of the Argentine game, one of the grandes of South American soccer. And if you get a chance to have a final between the two blood rivals of Boca and River, it's absolute insanity. I mean, it can't happen, but if it was Red Sox Yankees for the World Series, it's stuff that just does not happen. It's not supposed to happen.
Alabama, Auburn for the national championship.
Yes, stuff like that. That is what you could be looking at here. Tonight, we get a chance to see how Guillermo Barros Schelotto looks with a 2-0 lead. So for Atlanta United fans and looking at what could be the next potential manager, you'll get to see how he handles the situation. Hopefully something he would be expected to do in the postseason in the MLS Cup playoffs. So good little bit of scouting for Atlanta fans. But we have the penalty kick goal from Pity Martinez. This is from Fox Deportes from last night.
Atención, va Martínez. Va River, va. 1-1 el partido. Va Gonzalo, va. ¡Gol! Voy a patear cualquiera. ¡Qué golazo!
Pretty impressive. He even got some vibrato on his voice there in the goal call. I like it.
Yeah. And I almost put in there also the set piece that drew it, in addition to the PK, but just because of the drama and the absolute call that was there, must listen, must watch TV, tremendous because of subplot plus all of the action that was going on. I mean, all of the near misses last night, I had to go to a second hand for all of the near misses for both teams last night. I mean, and we're talking like an inch away from the post and hitting the post and those kinds of things. But I mean, it was great drama last night. It was also pretty cool football.
Yeah, definitely that. Lots of stuff will be talked about when it comes into this one. And tonight there will be even more with Boca and Palmeiras in the second leg from Brazil. So Fox Deportes, 8:45 kickoff tonight. You can also watch on Fanatis. One day, hopefully, we will get these games in English. That would be amazing. I don't know why. I don't know why this is not happening. If there's an FS2 sitting there that's showing bowling or I don't know what else FS2 shows, NASCAR
UFC.
Truck races, UFC, like highlight reels from 5 years ago. I think we could get some Copa Libertadores in English, and I think there would be an audience for it. Just saying. Or even throw it on Fox Sports Go. Throw the world feed on Fox Sports Go. I don't care. Just make it available. That would be amazing, and it'd be great for the tournament. I think this is probably a reason why CONMEBOL is talking about adding Mexican and MLS teams to the tournament. More eyeballs equals more money. And that's what always drives this stuff, isn't it? Last night, we had Stoppage Time live over at Fido Irish Pub in Buckhead. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. It was a lot of fun. Scott Donnelly joined us. Joe Patrick from Dirty South Soccer joined us. We'll get into some of that as we go. Especially Scott had some great comments talking about the rise of ATL UTD2 this season and some of the things they went through and some of the things they learned. We'll talk about that as we go. But just great to see great viewership numbers and great turnout again at Fido. It was a lot of fun last night.
And it was good to see some of the listeners. Michael Ruiz came up and introduced himself to us both. And I thought it was really cool. And I like the opportunity to attach faces and voices to Twitter responses and to have that kind of an opportunity as a byproduct of the setting for Stoppage Time Live. You know, it's always, for me, selfishly, it's always good to see Mike and Jimmy Vance and Mena. And last night we got to see Dave Williamson was there, Jay Riddle was there. And, you know, to be able to add faces, I thought it's a really cool vibe. And if you haven't had the chance to go, highly recommend going. And I would probably put in my reserve now to go next week.
Yeah, 7:00 Tuesdays for the rest of the current Atlanta United season. And the hope is that this starts in early February ahead of CONCACAF Champions League in 2019. So thanks, everybody, for coming out. We really, really appreciate it. What else is on your mind this morning, John? It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. We'll be taking questions from the listeners throughout the show. What is your Wall Pass question of the day?
Well, my Wall Pass question of the day is, what in the wide world of sports happened in Vancouver yesterday with Media Day?
I mean, we know what happened. These guys don't like each other very much. And I think that was abundantly clear. Craziness. I mean, all the way around, like to see, I can't remember anything like this happening in MLS. So it was postseason media day, last opportunity to talk to the players in the 2018 season. Vancouver season ended on Sunday. There's some happiness and some pride in watching Alphonso Davies move on to Bayern now. That's about it, because everybody else seemed to really just dislike being around one another. Stefan Marinovic, goalkeeper, said, "I've never seen a team that had so many clicks." He followed up and said it became difficult because we weren't doing too well, and it became more apparent. When the going got tough, players didn't come together as we should have. Kendall Waston, he said a few things when Carl Robinson was let go, and he expanded. He said he doesn't like two-faced people. He's expecting a transfer. He said, if I don't trust, I better walk away. And his representation added more to that. Then the club said, okay, yeah, we've heard what Kendall Waston said. He's not going to be sold for less than market value. So get ready for a standoff there. Efrain Juarez was very unhappy with the things that were said. His comments about what his teammates said, he said, that is a coward. That is between men. No go and cheat around his back. I don't believe what they say. To be honest, I don't respect. Bob Lenarduzzi, general manager, he said we have a culture problem. There's no doubt about it. That would be the biggest duh I've ever heard after some of these comments.
But Russell, he had a follow-up. He did have a follow-up.
Okay, I don't have his follow-up. I have Russell Tybert, who there's one more player who said something. Russell Tybert has been there forever. He said there's been a lack of respect for the jersey in this season, and that can't happen anymore. Going forward into 2019, you have to respect this jersey and this club. It's just mind-blowing that it got like this.
Lenarduzzi at the end of the article that was put out by the Canadian Press. What was the quote attributed to Lenarduzzi that you just brought up?
We have a culture problem. There's no doubt about it.
Follow up. We may have taken a step backwards this year, but we're not far off from getting back on track.
That's straight out of the general manager had a bad season playbook, chapter 2, page 5. I mean, that's what you say. It says nothing, but it's, yeah, we're close. I don't think you're that close because your best center back wants to leave now. He's called you two-faced. You got rid of your other best center back at the beginning of the season because you didn't want to sign him to a long-term deal. You have players calling other players cowards. You say nobody respects the jersey. I don't think you're that close. And your best player is now on his way to Bayern Munich. How close are you? You don't have a manager either, by the way. That's not close. That's the opposite
they're right
of close.
There.
It's
they're
not
right
Colorado
there.
And San Jose not close, but it's not close. You say you're shut up. You say that all the time. That's seriously going to the playbook and finding a quote and saying, yep, okay, this is what I'm going to say today. There's no meaning to it. And Vancouver fans deserve better. I mean, all the way across the board, they deserve better from the players. I mean, I think Breck Shea came in, and the only reason he said he came was to give a hug to one of the reporters and leave. And they asked him if he had anything to say, and he's like, yeah, everybody's already said it. I mean, there's nothing to say. It's bad. So Vancouver will be very interesting to watch because comments like this usually precede a cleaning of the house. And it sounds like there's quite a few members of this club who need to be on the way out going into 2019. And if it's Mark Dos Santos or somebody else, they're going to have a lot of work to do. And they're going to have to build a club culture. I mean, Lenarduzzi talked about it at different points yesterday that, yeah, we knew there was a problem. That's why we have a coaching staff. They're supposed to deal with it. Well, your coaching staff didn't deal with it. And it had been a coach who'd been there for a long time. So he was involved in creating that culture to some degree. So I don't know where you're going to throw the blame. I mean, it's easy for the club to throw the blame at Carl Robinson now because he's gone. But you got to fix this. If it was Robinson who created it, okay, fine. Then he's gone, so you would expect that maybe it'll be different now. If it was the players who created it, okay, you've got to get rid of some of those players who created it. But you're really looking at having to start from scratch. I've never seen a postseason media day like this that I can remember in any sport, let alone MLS.
Yeah, that was why I brought it up, just because of the absolute dumpster fire that media day was. I mean, it was great for the media to get all that sound, but when you see the culture that isn't in Vancouver currently, and everybody just comes out with guns blazing, and you have the soundbite, just the soundbite party that the media had. I mean, that in itself is absolute soundbite gold, but you don't want that for one of the teams in your own town.
No, not quite. That's not what you're looking for here.
No.
A couple rumors around the league before we get too deep into the show today. Houston, there are rumors that they will have a jersey sponsor next year, and it's the MD Anderson Center. Good sponsor to have. That team just they need this on the front of their jersey. They need something on the front of their jersey so it doesn't look like a youth team. It's a good step in the right direction for the Dynamo. And reports out of New England, writers for the Bent Musket on the SB Nation network have said that Claude Dielno will not be returning to the Revs next year. That's not a shock. I believe there was some crazy rumor that a La Liga team was interested in him. Okay, bye, because you haven't shown anything in your time in Major League Soccer. And there's other rumblings, and this is from Reddit, that the team has been conducting focus groups that have given the participants the impression that a stadium is going to happen sometime in the semi-near future. This has, I think, been ongoing for a little while, because we've heard these rumblings for a while now, and they seem to be at least more consistent. And when you combine that with the investment in a training facility that they just broke ground on, that's a pretty good situation to be in for the Revolution. It feels like they're starting to turn the corner and realize that they're going to have to spend and invest to be able to keep up with Major League Soccer in 2018 and beyond.
And making sure that you're doing that closer to the metropolitan area. Yes, I understand that the Patriots and having Gillette in the middle of Boston and Providence gives you the notion that you're representing the entirety of New England, but I would love to see the breakdown of, for Revolution fans, who's coming from which direction. And I think what was the scouted land for a possible new stadium? What was it, south of downtown? Is that where the drawings were?
That one didn't seem to make a lot of sense. I'm not sure. One of those things we're kind of going to have to wait and see on what it looks like, because land is not exactly easy to come by in the Boston area.
No. And, I'd love to see where they're planning on having this new facility and if it's tied to the land for the training facility.
I don't think it's tied to the training facility. I mean, you know that if you're building a stadium next to the training facility, you're not going to be able to keep that under wraps. So, no, I don't think that's going to be it. How close could it be? Who knows? We'll have to see. Interesting stuff out of Louisville. So one of the team's owners, co-owners and leaders, Mike Mountjoy, said to Louisville Business First that Louisville City planned to bid on a Major League Soccer franchise after their soccer-specific stadium opened in March of 2020. And they hope to be, in Major League Soccer in the next, I think, 5-6 years. Well, the club team spokesperson put out a statement saying that a bid was not forthcoming. Really weird stuff. Louisville's building an 11,300 seat stadium. I believe it has the potential to be expanded. There's an opportunity for that. But Louisville in Major League Soccer, is it feasible, John?
Not with everybody else in line planning what we've seen. I mean, I would put Louisville behind a boatload of the teams that are already trying to climb over each other and be that round of 30 that we envision. I mean, Charlotte, Raleigh, Sacramento, if they're trying to get their act together, Austin with Precourt, Detroit. I don't see Louisville getting anywhere over that top 5. Obviously, then you've got Nashville and Miami who are already coming online. Cincinnati's coming online. I'm shrugging my shoulders here, trying to figure out where they would fit in the rotation outside of the 3 that are coming in, and I would put them 6th, possibly 7th. I mean, behind Phoenix. It's going to be it's a tough ask for me for Louisville, and they would have to do something akin to what Nashville did and put everything on the table, get it done quickly, and move to the front of the line. I just don't see it.
Well, there's no more front of the line. That's the problem. That's why Nashville put everything into getting into the first round, because they knew that things were going to rally for a lot of cities going into the second round of expansion, and the competition would be fiercer. I think if Louisville gets into MLS at any point, it's going to be later when you're talking about an MLS 1 and 2, and you've went past 30 teams. I don't see it beyond that. They've been a great success story for USL, but they're not there for what MLS is currently, and the cities that are trying to get into the current iteration of Major League Soccer. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on the other side. Wall Pass Wednesday. Send your questions in on Twitter @SoccerDownHere. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. October 31st edition. We learned last night that Scott Donnelly's favorite Halloween costume was dressing as an old woman because it was cold in upstate New York and he could wear lots of layers. So
yes,
that makes sense. That's functional and a costume. So that's creative. I'll take that.
And Joe Patrick's was what, the sword and the shield and all that stuff?
Yeah, knight.
And that way he could wander around with a sword for an entire year.
He probably still has the sword, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
Yeah.
Would not doubt it for a second.
So after we learned about Halloween costumes, we talked to Scott about the Atlanta United 2 first season and kind of followed up on a few things and expanded on a few things from our 1v1. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go check it out. The fact that Scott was willing to sit down for close to 40 minutes and just talk about the season and get into a little of the philosophy and tactics and some deeper questions. It was a lot of fun to talk to him for that long. And he always gives incredibly thoughtful answers. That's what I really like about Scott Donnelly. Here is his response last night to a question about just what players have improved and what players stood out as most improved to him from the ATL UTD2 first season.
I think we can talk about a lot of guys, and that's an easy answer to give, but I also think it's an accurate answer. So if you look at a player like Andrew Carlton, who of course is sort of a fan favorite local boy, I think you saw him get a lot of professional minutes, and that's part of the reason why our team is valuable. You saw him start to score goals and get assists late in the year, which weren't quite so easy in coming early in the year. So figuring out how to take all his talents and turn those into points. I think that was something that Andrew brought to the table. And then you take another story like a Kevin Barajas, who came from another local boy from Marietta, came through the dream tryout, played 4 years of college. Kevin's trajectory over the course of the season saw him become a really viable option as sort of a 6'8" player for us, and that's a huge credit to Kevin, because while he doesn't have the same type of fanfare and attention that a guy like Andrew does, he's done himself a huge service in terms of how he's come to train every day, and that, I think, highlights the value of having a second team, because otherwise a guy like Kevin might not be inside the club. And then you can go all the way between a guy like Lagos popping up and having some really good moments late in the year. Chris Gosselin, we talk a lot about, with a bit of a stop-start season, but ended well. Laurent Kisiadou, a ton of professional minutes and playing on the wing, playing centrally, still 19 years old. I think he's a guy that will continue to be in the reckoning for the club and the first team, maybe down the line, depending on his performances.
And Scott added Miles Robinson to that list as well. It was a big season, and I'm glad he mentioned guys like Barajas and Kisiadou. I think Kisiadou's gotten a good bit of attention, scored some goals this year. But a guy like Barajas, look, when you haven't had a chance to grow up and play in a professional environment, you don't really know what that player can necessarily be. And Kevin Barajas, local guy, went to the University of Kentucky, played 4 years, gets the opportunity to come into a professional environment, and he grew from day one to the final day. He was playing more significant minutes late in the season, played in a variety of roles. He's a guy who could turn into a valuable piece, and you need those types of players. You need a full variety in your club. And for Atlanta United, the club is the first team, the second team, the academy, all of it. You need players who will grind and put in that work. And is Kevin Barajas a first-choice starter at the MLS level next season? No, he's not. Is he a valuable part of the club on a day-to-day training perspective and playing significant minutes with the second team? He is. He absolutely is. And he could turn into more. That's the thing, you never know. That's the whole point of this. We have a question from artist formerly known as TLC that kind of follows along this line with ATL UTD2. He says, reasonable to expect additional homegrown signings this year, or is the roster flush for the time being? He says Kendall Edwards or Jackson Conway are the two that would be logical to him. I think what you might see is more guys do the Alessandro Castro trajectory, where you sign a USL deal first. The first team's going to be crowded. The first team with the players that you had playing this season, with the draft picks from last year that played with the second team that are on MLS deals, Gallagher, Shannon, Gordon Wild, who played in Charleston, your homegrowns that played second team minutes this year, like Gosselin, like Kunga, Okonkwo played in Charleston. Plus your guys who are just competing for more minutes at the first team level. It's going to be really crowded. Conway and Edwards are guys that have players in front of them on the organizational depth chart. Jackson Conway is a forward. Obviously, he is behind Romario Williams and Joseph Martinez right now. Kendall Edwards, a center back, he is behind Parkhurst and Gonzalez Perez and Escobar and Robinson. It's crowded. I think the USL professional deal might be the way to go for some of these players. Remember, Tyler Adams did that as a 16-year-old. He signed straight to the USL team rather than a homegrown deal. Then they signed him to a homegrown deal when the time was right and he was ready to move up. I think you could see more of that first, is guys who sign their first pro deal with the second team, play there, prove it, and when the opportunity opens up going into a season or mid-season if things happen, you sign them to that MLS deal then, because you can sign a homegrown deal after they've signed a USL deal.
And for me, with what you and Mike were able to do with Scott Donnelly last night, one of the other topics I wish that there had been time to get into was the impact that all the academy players had this season and how many different academy players got the chance to get USL minutes. I mean, you look at Edwards, you look at Conway, Will Crane early on before he went to college, Dylan Gaither, Nathaniel McDonald, Justin Garces before he went out west. Who am I missing?
I mean, there were 10. There were 10 academy players who played minutes.
Right.
That's really impressive. I think only Seattle played more. So, look, it's a huge opportunity, and I think there would have been a few more if injuries hadn't happened on the academy side. George Campbell is another one who I think will be a contender for a pro deal very soon, a center back who's played with Edwards. I mean, that pairing was excellent with the U17s last year. So there's a lot of talent coming through. That puts pressure on the players at the first team and second team levels right now to maintain their spot. It's not going to be easy, and this is the competition that you thrive on. This is what you see in other parts of the world. South America, this is what happens with players. You know, looking at River Plate from last night, you have a lot of guys who started with River Plate when they were 13, 14 years old and have had to survive year after year with new players coming to try to take their job. That's what happens. That's the part of what Brad Friedel had to say that I get where he's going. I get where he's going with the whole thing about the competition and guys coming in to try to take your spot and why are you being buddy-buddy with them and all that. There is a middle ground, as there is with most things. I don't think you need to be fighting everybody. I think you prove it on the field more than anything. And the thing about soccer is if you're not playing for the team, you're going to get found out pretty fast. You're not able to just be out there and show for yourself on the field. So the way you play for the team and the way that improves is you get along and you are not doing what Vancouver did as the season went on and not having these cliques that form and not having these different pockets where players aren't really caring about the club. You have to put the club first. And when you put the club first, you're going to work together and you're going to get along with new faces. And yeah, you're going to see that guy and say, well, I better step up. And that means every day in training, I better bring it. And every opportunity I get on the field, I better bring it because they just brought this guy in and he wants my job. That mentality is great. It doesn't have to manifest itself in, I think, where Brad Friedel was going with it, where players don't like each other because then you get Vancouver, and that's not good either.
So what was the, I guess, how do we attribute this one with the gentleman who is known as The Rock in some circles? Don't just sing it, bring it.
Yeah, I mean, that part's
when it comes
easy.
When it comes to making sure that it's about the club, it's about the crest, it's not about you. You can be a part of the success of the crest and the club if you apply your skills and you're a good team player. You can grow in the system as well as everyone else around you. And it's almost like rising tides. But you do your game, you listen, you can improve just as much as the next guy. The club improves, the crest is represented well, everything moves forward. You don't get Vancouver.
Look, you don't earn first team minutes by being a jerk to your teammates. That's not going to impress anybody. If it does, you have the wrong coach. I mean, if it does, maybe you're talking about the Maryland football program. I don't know. But that's not how you get minutes. That's not how you impress a coach. You impress a coach by delivering on the field, period. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult. Don't overthink it. You perform on the field in training and in games, you're going to get minutes. That's it. It's just not that difficult. So I think Friedel needs to figure out a little bit of how to create a club culture that is competitive, but not players at each other's throats, because I don't think that's going to work anymore. I don't think that's the modern mentality. And to try to hold on to it, well, back in my day, I don't think that's going to work. And They don't have a second team to get guys minutes. They don't have an academy culture that is very strong right now. He's got to focus on those things before he's worried about the overall mentality of being cutthroat. I think Atlanta United is cutthroat because you have guys on pro deals who could be playing minutes of the first team who aren't. Lagos Kunga could be playing with the first team. He's all in 18. He hasn't played a minute yet. You know he wants to. You know he sees what Andrew is doing, and he's like, I want to be there. You don't get there by like being mean to somebody in the locker room. You get there by delivering. And what did he do? He stepped up in the second half of the season and played really well down the stretch, complete performances. That's how you do it. That's what you need to create here. And that's what I think gets underrated with, we know what the first team management and coaching staff do. We see it on a regular basis. We've been able to watch what Scott Donnelly and his coaching staff have done. We don't see the training every day and how much they work together. We know what Tony Annan does in the academy. All of that stuff has to go together because you have to create that club culture that people want to be a part of. That's a big element here. And just like Darren Eales told us on Stoppage Time Live last week about the manager side, you need a manager who embraces what Atlanta United is and all of the elements of it, like the golden spike and walking through the club on the way to the field, all that type of stuff. You have to have somebody who embraces it or they're not a fit. Same on the player side. You have to have players who embrace what Atlanta United is, being active in the community, doing the right things on and off the field. That's a big part of it. You have a club culture here in 2 years. New England, I don't know if you have one. Vancouver, you had one, but it was a bad one. It's not easy to do it. And I think what everybody has done from top to bottom here in Atlanta has been really impressive. We'll start getting into more Wall Pass Wednesday questions and tweets and stuff after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath.
He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties.
He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
All right, I'm being blasted by these guys right now because I'm eating a pumpkin chocolate chip muffin and I was told I was basic.
I mean, shoe fits.
Jared Smith chimes in after he misses the first two segments and chimes in with calling me basic for eating a pumpkin chocolate chip muffin.
You know, when I hit the ground, I hit the ground running, full speed.
Yeah, it's true.
And after yesterday, everyone should be used to that.
Yeah.
Just not a fan.
I'm just not a fan of pumpkin, but I'll tell you the same thing I tell my wife. Like, more power to you, and that means that I won't ever take any of your pumpkin-related things. You can have them all to yourself. So really, it's a win for you.
But here's the thing. I don't like a whole bunch of pumpkin-related things. I don't drink a pumpkin spice latte. I don't really drink lattes. I like pumpkin bread, so pumpkin muffin. It works. I like pumpkin soup. That's really good.
Nope. No.
Pumpkin seeds, like roasted pumpkin seeds, are very good.
Nope.
John hates everything. We've learned that this morning as well.
Agreed. But that's just like Jared says, look at it this way. You get mine as well. You get yours and
care.
you get mine.
I'm not like trying to make you eat it. I'm just saying you don't like anything.
No. And I'm like Mikey. Until you find me Life cereal, then that ain't happening. And Jarrett, by the way, the other flavors of my drink of choice are sacrilegious.
Okay, because there's like 20.
And they're all
Had
bad.
this argument before. He freaked out. But he did try the Kickstart, though. I was impressed with that.
There's more flavors of Mountain Dew than there are Tremors movies.
See, but that's the thing
true.
is that you go back to the original. Nothing beat Michael Gross and Reba McEntire's guest spot. You just stick to the original.
Well, nothing's beating Reba McEntire in any capacity. So,
I got to think about that one. We'll leave that one on the table and we'll discuss it later.
Please leave it on the
we'll
table for now.
Yes, we'll leave that one to the side. But no, John tried the Mountain Dew Kickstart. I was very proud of him for stepping out of his comfort zone with his beverages. That was a good thing.
Needed it desperately on that particular day, and it worked.
It was good. Kickstart's good stuff. I did try the mango lime Kickstart, and I wasn't too impressed.
No.
That was a little weird.
See, there's where you went wrong.
Fine. But mango would have been fine. It was the lime that I was kind of like,
It's like diving. It's always that last half twist that's the bad idea.
Yeah, they didn't have my preferred orange because the orange Mountain Dew Kickstart just tastes like Sunkist to me, which I loved Sunkist as back in the day. I think they still make Sunkist. I don't know.
Yes, they do.
Okay, it just tastes like that, so it's fine. The fruit punch one's okay. They didn't have either one of those. They had the mango lime, and I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. And the lime part of it was no good. It's no good at all.
Yeah. See, that's when you're on the diving board and you think that you can add that little extra half twist when you're trying to cannonball your way out, and you're on the high dive, and you think that you can pull it off, and then you're over rotated or you're under rotated and you end up belly flopping and it just ends up being a bad idea. That was the lime part of your mango lime. I like the black cherry. I like the grape because the grape kind of tastes like knee high with a kick.
See, it's like I told you, though. You need to just get the Mountain Dew flavored Kickstart that they have. Like, it's just Mountain Dew Kickstart. That would be perfect for you.
But aren't you Mountain Dew at that point?
No, because Kickstart has more caffeine than a regular Mountain Dew.
So does the Canadian Mountain Dew. You should have sampled.
No. I did not want to sample Canadian Mountain Dew. I did get my Canadian XL mints, though. I was very happy to see those at the airport in Toronto. They're excellent.
Pearson,
and you can't get them in the States.
Pearson knows how to get to you. You go to the Swiss Chalet to eat. You get your XL mints. You get your overpowered Mountain Dew. You go to duty free. You're good for Christmas.
Okay. All right. So travel plans and pumpkin slander and Mountain Dew discussion aside.
Apparently Nick Leafy's mad too.
Nick Leafy's usually mad. That's nothing new. Let's get into the Wall Pass Wednesday questions, John. What do we have for one question before we go to break?
All right. So since Jarrett's here, and this would be the appropriate one for both of you, Tom Marshall put out last night that, let's see who it was. Fernando Schwartz was reporting the Mexican Federation has already been in contact with Lopetegui's people to see if he has any interest in the Mexico job. Reply from Lopetegui's that he wants to rest and recover before considering offers. So Andy Hollums. So Mexico's still interviewing people for a job which is supposedly filled. Meanwhile, the USM&T won't interview people for a job which is supposedly vacant. Question mark.
It reads like an excerpt of Hitchhiker's Guide. Not in a good way either.
Well, again, as we have been continually reiterating, Eric Gomez's report on ESPN, which was a great report, and I'm sure he had lots of great information. He also had a bit of information that seemingly everybody has overlooked. They said in the article, Eric Gomez talked about 2 different managers that were contingencies in case Tata Martino did not take the job. That means it wasn't done. They've interviewed, I think, 24 plus people. That was what Matias Almeida said when he decided to go to San Jose. He was upset because he wasn't one of those people, and he never was considered for it, which is ridiculous. So they don't have a deal with Tata Martino. So the people trying to say that Tata Martino did a deal behind Atlanta's back and was shady, you're wrong. There's no deal done because Mexico is looking at other guys who are losing their jobs and like, maybe we could get him. I don't know why you'd want to right now because the guy had the greatest collapse in coaching history in his last 2 jobs where he's fired from both. They were both supposed to be his dream job, and he wrecked both programs. I think he needs to take a break. He definitely needs to rest and recover, as First_4 said. He doesn't need to be in charge of anything right now. So Mexico doesn't have a manager. They didn't have a deal done. The United States doesn't have a manager, but supposedly they have a deal done, so they're not talking to anybody. It's all stupid. That's basically what I have. It's all very, very stupid.
How many O's?
Just one giant, large, bolded U.
Okay. With an umlaut?
No, that would make it different, I think. I can't remember how the pronunciation would go. Yeah,
no umlaut. Jurgen's era is done here.
That's true. The umlauts are not part of U.S. soccer anymore. So, yes. It's just bad. It's bad all the way around. Mexico can't figure out what they want to do. They don't have a deal done with Tata Martino. You're seeing all the rumors about Tata potentially looking at other gigs. And like I said, I've heard from people that Colombia is not out of the realm of possibility for Tata Martino. So that one's kind of been quiet here lately. Argentina is trying to step back up. Mexico doesn't really have a grip on getting Tata Martino. They're talking to Lopetegui. Lopetegui's like, I don't want to do anything right now. I need to go hide for a long time because I've ruined 2 good things. So it's not a good situation all the way around, but I'm not exactly surprised either.
Then before we go,
I don't have anything positive on that. I mean, every time you think your federation is doing something wrong, just look around. Everyone else's federation is doing things wrong too, just in different ways.
Yes.
And before we go to break, Josh Bailey with a question for hashtag Wallpass Wednesday. Are there any television services in the U.S. that will be carrying the Libertadores final that you know of, or is it all streaming? I'm thinking of reaching out to the local Argentinian food truck to see if they have any info.
Well, number one, reach out to the local Argentinian food truck because that's just awesome. And I wish I had a local Argentine food truck to reach out to. But Fox Deportes has the rights to it, so they'll have it. If you have Fox Deportes on your cable system, that's your spot. Otherwise, Fanatis.com is your spot.
Yeah, I was watching off of Fox Deportes last night because I added another section to the Super Hyper Mega Cable Sports package that I already have.
Yes.
Here at Office HD.
Yes, it is part of that. I believe Fox Deportes is on all cable systems. You just might have to figure out which package you need to get it. I didn't have to get the Spanish language package on Uverse. John had to get the Spanish language package on Xfinity, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it just depends on what your service is. All right, we will see if there's any other ways to do it, but I think those are the 2 that I know of, Fox Deportes and Fanatis. We're going to take a break. More Wallpass Wednesday after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
And we're back. Soccer Down Here, Wall Pass Wednesday edition of the show. We're taking your questions, your comments. Pumpkin slander has happened this morning as well. It's been one of those days already. What do we have, John, on the Twitters?
It's more pumpkin dismissal than slander, I would think.
Slander.
All right. Danny Shaw from the BBC said that the Premier League football clubs are to be paired with prisons as part of a groundbreaking scheme to reduce reoffending. Clubs will offer offenders courses in coaching and refereeing to give them skills to help them get jobs when they're let out. Tafka TLC said that this is interesting, and he's dying to make the predictable "the ref robbed us of the game" joke, but in all seriousness, I support any effort to rehabilitate inmates at Soccer Down Here.
It's a really interesting idea. I don't know how it would play out, but yes, it would create some jokes, that's for sure.
Nathan Pugh. Home and home ties are a completely different beast that we have yet to see in Atlanta. Any idea how Tata has handled those in the past? Aggressive in both legs or more conservative away? #. #WallPass Wednesday.
I mean, I'd have to go back and look at how the tactics played out, but I don't know his time in Argentina as well, and it's going to be a little bit harder to find that. You look at his year at Barcelona and what he handled in two-leg series. He got through Manchester City in the round of 16. He won 2-0 in Manchester. He was knocked out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League by Atletico Madrid, losing 1-0 at Atletico. You go back and look at the Copa del Rey. They did pretty well on the road. I mean, early rounds, you're not really playing anybody. But they won at Getafe. They won 4-1 at Levante. They drew 1-1 with Real Sociedad in the semifinals, but they had a 2-0 lead coming in the first leg. So it's a little hard to tell. I have to dig deeper into it. But, I just keep going back to the way that Tata Martino has talked about limiting risk on the road. And I think that becomes the focal point here is you're going to look to maximize your home games. You're going to look to just minimize what you concede on the road and play it a little bit safer. So to me, that means 3-5-2. And I think that's the way to go. We'll see how it plays out because the last two matches have been the 4-2-3-1. We just haven't seen the press to go along with the 4-2-3-1. I think if it is 4-2-3-1, it has to have the press attached to it. If it's not a high pressing 4-2-3-1, I don't think it works as well with this group. I think the 3-5-2 would be a better option.
Okay, Jarrett. Josh Eisenberg with a question. How will removing homegrown regions change Atlanta United? Will we be adding scout (S) closed parenthesis for youth nationally? #WallPass Wednesday.
Atlanta United going to be recruiting, Paul. It's every team invests a different amount into their scouting departments. That's going to be interesting to see how much. Red Bulls is going to be there. Dallas is going to be there. Philadelphia is going to be there probably. Teams will invest different amounts in their scouting, and they may just stick to whatever their regions are, or they may, expand their scouting networks. It's going to be a matter of investment to make sure it gets done, though. And I think those results will bear out on the field in terms of win-loss and point totals by the first team as well. Just the amount you put into it, what you're going to get out of it.
You're going to recruit heavily, and you're going to be able to draw the best talent from around the country. And because of what you have here, you have a beautiful training facility. You have a second team where players can get minutes straight away. You have a pathway all the way to the first team, and you're starting to see faster than anybody else in recent memory, those minutes starting to happen for players. I mean, this was something I talked to Scott Donnelly about last night. You look at Minnesota, who came in at the same time. They have not had a homegrown play any minutes. I don't think they have a homegrown, period. So Orlando, Pierre Da Silva has barely played. They don't really have any homegrowns playing anything significantly. New York City, same thing. So that's the last four teams. LAFC came in this year. They didn't have a homegrown situation set up like Atlanta did with Georgia United. So the last teams to come in haven't done anything on the homegrown side. You're going back to like Montreal, who's had homegrowns come through when they entered the league in 2012. So Atlanta's doing something that nobody else has really done out of the newer MLS teams. I think if you're a top player around the country, you're going to see that and say, well, that's where I want to go. What that means is the competition for spots is going to be even more intense. And for local talent, the local clubs have to get even better in terms of development to develop players who are ready for that level of competition, but also be a spot where players can develop on their own into professionals. Because as we've seen before, sometimes a guy isn't a fit with the current academy team. They might have more players in that position. They might have better players in that position. Doesn't mean that player can't be a professional. And that's where your, SSAs and Concord Fires and Decatur YMCAs and Alpharetta Ambush and all of the clubs in the local area, that's where they can benefit from it because they're going to have more local talent and they can help those guys become professionals. And I think that's a good thing for Atlanta United in the long run too, because they might miss on a guy and that guy might develop into a stud player at 17 years old. You can either bring them back into the academy then, or you can sign them to a USL deal. There's going to be different opportunities to do it, but I'm all for it. I think it increases the competition, and I think by increasing the competition, it'll make the player pool even better.
And a follow-up from Tafka, I will hold until the top of the next hour.
Yes, follow-up held. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. Hour number 2, Wall Pass Wednesday, after this.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath.
He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties.
He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here, October 31st. It's a Halloween edition of the show. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith here with you this morning. We're taking your questions, your comments throughout the day. John, we had a follow-up, I believe.
Yes, from Tofka TLC. After the end of hour number 1, he asks, with Atlanta United having the inside track for high-end college players that were academy prospects, do we see big trades for our quote-end-quote draft picks to other teams? I think that would be the best strategy.
Well, it could. I mean, you saw teams finally start doing that this past offseason. DC United traded Eric Williamson to Portland. Chicago traded Jalen Lindsey to Orlando. Players who, you might not have, or Cam Lindley, to Orlando. Jalen Lindsey's Sporting Kansas City. You might not have seen those guys make it with the teams that they were developed at. Just a glut of talent at their position. They weren't going to sign. They didn't want to go into the draft. They wanted to call their shot and where they wanted to go, and they were able to make it work. I think you'll see more of that. I think you'll see maybe the reverse side of it, where teams look at players who could be homegrown eligible for Atlanta and say, you know what, I'd like to get that player here, Atlanta. Here's a boatload of allocation money. These are the types of things that could start happening once you're developing more and more talent. And for the talent side, it creates opportunity, and that's great. For the club, you're going to be able to get a return on your investment on the academy side, which is very significant. It's a great move all the way around. I think it raises the level for everybody.
I think as long as you can get something for those draft picks and there's nothing that you want. I mean, Atlanta's done just a stupid good job of the draft. Even late round picks. So Andrew Willaminu was a late round pick. Really, I think it took a step forward this year, and could have a future in this league. Gordon Wild was impressive in his chances. Oliver Shannon, John Gallagher, they did really well. About Gressel last year, but yeah, I mean, if you decide, hey, some of these homegrowns that are in college right now, they might fill the need that, we could get from the draft. We can just, sell that. We could just trade that draft pick off. I mean, it just depends, because you've got guys right now in college. Illy's still playing college ball. Machop Chol still there. Washington was lighting up the Northeast his freshman year. You don't know how they're going to develop. They might kind of stall out, and they might develop later. They might take a big step. You might homegrown them. You might not. But you've got a number of them to choose from, and you're putting enough dice out on the table that one of them is probably hopefully going to come up a 6. So, if you think that if those guys start to take the steps and can fill the void that you were going to look at in the draft anyway, why not?
Clayton Poss addresses Associate Producer Emeritus Jay Riddle's parody rumors that basically have Atlanta United choosing the manager who wins the Copa. Question is, and Jared, I guess let me start with you. Which of the two would you rather? Clayton would prefer the manager that is familiar with PT, #BallPassWednesday.
I don't really have a preference, honestly. I haven't dug deep enough beyond their very recent work to really say that I've got a favorite for this guy because of A, B, and C. I haven't done that much of a deep dive into their past to see which one I prefer. Both of which are really fun. I'm not as bearish on Schelotto as maybe others are who might know more. I don't know. At this point, I'm just kind of writing this out and trusting Darren and the entire front office staff to make the right choice, and that they're going to bring in somebody who's going to fit what they want to do.
Look, here's the thing that you're going to have to realize when it comes to Argentina and the soccer conversation. you will find as many people who love a player or manager as hate them. Like Schelotto, a lot of people have talked about Schelotto as being a great manager going forward, and then you have a lot of people come out and say, oh, he stinks, he's no good. It's going to be the same with Gallardo. I mean, you do a search for Marcelo Gallardo and you're wanting to look at his tactics, you'll see one article, his tactics are like a European team. He's at another level. Then you'll see the next one. He's no good. He's got to go. That's how it is. So
see a Google image of him with a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, that's different. That's the other thing about Gallardo is this is a man who last night was banned from the touchline, was in a booth upstairs. He throws on a hat and goes downstairs to talk to the team at halftime. He just said, "Yeah, I did it. I needed to do it.
He's Bobby Valentine."
He's not even Bobby Valentine. He just said, I'm going to go do it. He didn't even worry about crazy disguises. He just went and did it. Yeah, in the second half, they were pretty good. And then late in the game, they show him with a walkie-talkie, and one of his assistants had a pretty funny quote about it. So Matthias Biscay, who was in charge of the match because of Gallardo's ban, he said, Gallardo did not have any communication with me. Maybe he was calling home because he has a family. Love this guy.
I need them to come here to fill in to just be a part of the Atlanta lexicon of coaches. My favorite quote of the last week is still Paul Johnson about his backup quarterback in the Georgia Tech win over Virginia Tech. And someone asked, Paul, are you worried about your quarterback having that many carries? He said, why? The ball ain't heavy.
Yeah.
I need more answers like that.
Yeah, seriously. The thing about tactics for these guys and just, the likelihood of Gallardo being in the mix, he hasn't been mentioned about Atlanta United, I think, in any serious way. So keep that in mind. He's somebody who's been mentioned for the Argentina job, actually. He did play in MLS for a season with DC United. A lot of injuries, never really got to see the true quality that Gallardo had. I don't know if he's a serious candidate, and if he wins Copa Libertadores, I think there has been more of a talk for him going to Europe than anywhere else. Again, Atlanta United has become a job that is on par with many European jobs, so maybe that's a different conversation. But both of them are big-time managers in Argentina right now at the two biggest clubs. They're both used to being at a big club and dealing with the pressure that comes with being at a big club. Both would be able to make that transition here. I think if you're looking at Pity Martinez and you'd rather have Gallardo because he's worked with him, it's a little bit of an adventure. I mean, he would know Pity a little bit more. He'd know what buttons to push. He'd know, how he works and what he's like, and that would be helpful. But I don't think it's a giant deal if it's Schelotto, because Schelotto has watched Pity Martinez week after week in the league. He knows what he brings to the table. He just doesn't know him personally. So I think both are great candidates, but Schelotto is the only one who's been mentioned with any regularity as a true candidate for Atlanta United.
Host of Soccer Over There, Nick Alifi, who was a part of the afternoon crossover programming. It was a very special blossom on Monday when we had the afternoon drive time SDH PM followed by Soccer Over There.
Was Nick Alifi Joey Lawrence in that scenario?
Yeah, I think he was. He says
was the worst Joey Lawrence impression I've ever heard.
On purpose.
I mean,
it's been a while since I've heard
the only thing you do is just whoa. That's it. That's all you do. That's Joey Lawrence. That's all he did.
Of course. Yeah.
Man.
Because Blossom, your friend's six.
That's why most people are wondering what Blossom is at this point. So go on.
Mayim Bialik on the Google machine, kids. Nick Alifi says, at Longshoe equals basic. Likes pumpkin, hates Nutella. And Jarrett Smith, Dolly beats Reba, fight me.
Man, Nick's wanting to fight everybody. I think
he's Sicilian.
Well, yeah, that's true. I wonder if Nutella would qualify as basic too. I think that's a valid question at this stage. And I like elements of pumpkin. I don't drink pumpkin spice lattes, and I don't get excited about pumpkin spice everything. I like pumpkin bread. I like pumpkin soup. Those are the two things with pumpkin I like. Pumpkin seeds are pretty good too when they're toasted. You've never had it, so you don't know.
Just I've had pumpkin seeds, not a fan. Had pumpkin, not a fan. Ergo, pumpkin soup, not a fan.
You just ate
I'm
raw
not defending
pumpkin?
my honor here.
Nope. Don't like pumpkin pie. Don't like pumpkin.
Pumpkin pie is good too. That's another one. Sorry, I forgot about pumpkin pie. That's good stuff.
Digging out the innards of a pumpkin when you're trying to carve it just makes me want to throw up. And
So
I
you
think
won't eat
Andrew
it
Baker's
because of that.
Among other things, yeah. It tastes nasty. It tastes nasty.
So your loss. That's fine.
I mean, I'm not like Mel Kiper where it's spray, eat, spray, eat, spray, eat. I'm not that way. where it's pumpkin pie and he sprays the Cool Whip on top of it, and basically he'll have a spray of Cool Whip on top of a piece of pumpkin pie, and do that for every single piece of the pie that he cuts with the fork. And Andrew Baker's probably onto something that hashtag food down here would be the secret 11th hour.
Yeah, maybe.
11th
vanilla
hour.
ice cream.
God, are we that? I can't decide if we're that high or that low.
We're at 11 hours now, and pumpkin pie is better with vanilla ice cream, by the way. Anyway, let's move on.
No. All right. Grant Wall had a thought with Planet Football TV. The current MLS playoff structure is a mess, and it's long past time to fix it. Jimmy Vance, a.k.a. at ATL Soccer 929, asks us all, thoughts on the current MLS playoff system? Would you change anything in the current system? Hashtag Wall Pass Wednesday.
Yeah, I'd make everything 2 legs, and I would get rid of the 5 and 6 seeds getting in. That would be mine. That's the way I would do it. It's the top 4 in each conference, and it's a quarterfinal, semifinal, final. Everything's 2 legs, including the final. Simple. The biggest issue with me is you've got to figure out how to do it and avoid, or at least avoid the disruption of the November international break. Because right in the middle of the playoffs, it stinks. It stinks for momentum. It stinks for attention. It stinks from a PR perspective. It is no good at all. So you either need to go to everything being, just knockout round, 1 game, or you need to limit the number of teams that get in and do 2 legs, but only quarterfinal, semifinal, final. Grant Wall has a pretty funky format that would include a group stage, which I do think it's a little complicated, and just for a playoff format, I think it's a little complicated. I think it's a little awkward. I prefer just a simple quarterfinal, semifinal, final. No play-in games.
I mean, I'm with you. I think that for me in other sports, when you have a wild card round, which is basically what this feels like to me when you're adding a 5 and a 6, it just kind of bogs the whole thing down, and you're sitting there going, okay, so we have to get through this round. It's 1 and done, and then you're out, and then you're back to a 4, and 1 plays who, and for me, it's entirely too confusing. So I would just, it's too much involvement. I'd go with your idea of the 4 with the 2 legs, and then that way everything is somewhat simplified. But this clunker of an international break that's thrown in the middle of it, do you compress your schedule and slide things forward to end before the international break? How would you play the schedule?
I would, if you're on the same calendar as right now, I would actually extend things a little bit further, and the regular season would end at that international break. You have your international break, you come back and you do the postseason. Okay. I think that's going to be your way to minimize midweek games during the season and maximize attendance and maximize TV ratings. But then in the postseason, you're doing a midweek weekend. So if it starts, so you have your international break, you'd have your first playoff match on Saturday or Sunday. Second leg would be on Wednesday. Next round would start Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday. So the playoffs would be a little compressed. But again, I think that values the best teams getting in. The other thing I would do, and Mexico does it, and I like it, the tie break is not away goals or anything else. The tie break in a series is better regular season record. The better regular season team goes through. The higher seeded team always has the tiebreak.
Josh Eisenberg, getting back into the discussion about homegrowns, he says he thinks that Atlanta's lower cost of living and great job market could help as well. Some parents will move with their kids instead of just putting them up somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it helps. I'll be curious to see if Atlanta United goes down the road of the Philadelphia Union. I think they're the only ones that have it right now, where they have an actual high school, a private school attached to their academy. So they're able to keep everything kind of in-house. Other programs for players from outside the area, they do host families, and I know Dallas works with a local school that allows the kids to come in later because they do morning training, and they work with the school to get the schooling part right, but fit into the professional development at the club. So I'll be curious to see what happens as Atlanta fleshes that side out, because I think they will have some very interesting solutions going forward for it.
And then when we come back from break, Marcus has a concern about youngins that we can get into on the flip side.
We'll get into concerns after the break.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, October 31st, Halloween edition of the show. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you. Very interesting tweet comes across from Bob Williams, Bob75 on Twitter. Former writer for The Guardian, I believe. I know he does a lot of stuff now with Sock Takes. He's in the States. He covers the lower divisions pretty significantly, and he tweeted out that the future of the Charleston Battery in the USL is at best unclear and at worst in danger, I'm reliably told, due to bills not being paid. Watch this space. Yeah. Not what I expected to see this morning.
No.
I have wondered about the Battery moving to USL League One. Just because attendance hasn't been great. Charleston is a smaller market, and wondered if League One might be a better fit for them in the future. And if there are problems on the financial side, hopefully they can find a route into League One and make that work. But yeah, keep up with Williams Bob 75 on Twitter to know about what's next in Charleston. This is just one tweet. These are sources for Bob Williams, but he's broken a lot of news in the lower divisions before, so keep an eye on it.
average attendance for the Battery last year was 2872.
That might be generous.
And that puts them 22nd in the league and down 0.1% year to year. Teams below would be the Stripes, Pittsburgh, Bethlehem, Penn FC, Timbers 2, Real, Charlotte averaging 1650 at Matthews, Los Dos, Swope Park, Red Bulls 2, and Toronto FC 2.
Yeah, and second team's attendance is a completely different scenario for them. So one of the lowest attendances with independent teams, and I think that 28 might be a little generous too. It's not a good situation, and the Battery are one of the longest running professional teams in the United States. I would think that they will be able to find a way through and survive, but more and more as the season went on and looking at what, a club like Richmond is doing, moving to USL League One, I think it's the better route for the Battery going forward. And
Richmond's numbers had them listed as 17th in league attendance at just under 4,000, down 0.1%, almost 0.2% year to year.
And Richmond also has a huge youth club attached to it, so attendance isn't their only primary source of revenue, so that helps them out a lot. It becomes a different situation. Charleston doesn't have as much of that. They have a great venue. They have a great fan base. They've had a great program for a number of years. Mike Anhauser has been there for a long, long time. But the financials have to work, and second division soccer can be very expensive. So we'll see what happens with Charleston. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted with everything that we can find out.
Overall, the attendance in the USL is up about 600 people, from 4,300 to 4,900. So there's reason for optimism there. But, of course, you look at the numbers coming out of FC Cincinnati.
No. Hold on. There's a lot of reason for optimism in USL. Let's not take one. Yeah, but let's not take one club having problems to say that there's, you're trying to find optimism in the league. The league is growing. The league is in a great spot. They're adding a whole nother league. So, USL is not the issue. I think USL League One is a very important addition because there are some clubs that are currently in the second division that the financials just don't match being in the second division. I think Richmond made that decision. We've seen Orlando City B, Toronto FC2 make that decision. NFC. Well, NFC's got a whole lot of other issues, so they don't even know where they're at right now. Rochester had to take a break because the financials weren't there. There need to be different levels for different clubs because not everybody is in the same boat. I'm really hopeful that Charleston finds their way to League One because I think if you get Charleston, Greenville, Statesboro, Orlando City B, Richmond, you get a team in North Carolina somewhere, Chattanooga, you eventually get like a Huntsville or a Macon or some of the other cities that have talked about it. Charleston will be in a much better spot if that's the case. And you start looking at it more as a bus and minor league baseball kind of budget as opposed to, flying to Toronto.
All right. And so, of course, keeping an eye on the Bob Williams Twitter feed, article from the Post and Courier last month, the owner said he's not considering putting the team into USL League One. Quote, "We haven't even entertained the thought of self-relegation," end quote.
Well, I hope they do, because that'd be a lot better than going away. And if there are issues on the financial side, then you have to figure something out here. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, let's see what else. It seems that all right, Football for You and Me on Twitter, letting everybody know Fanatis is the streaming service, Fox Deportes is the TV channel passing the game. Maybe a small chance FS1 may play the game like they did a few years ago, but it's a very small chance. Oh, Marcus with the concerns.
Hold on. Por favor, FS1. Pick up Copa Libertadores final, please.
Yeah, really? Marcus with the concern that we're going to address in this block.
Okay.
At Remus753 Wilson on Twitter. My worry is that our track record the last 2 years with Carleton will scare off elite recruits. The facilities are amazing, and Atlanta has a lot to offer as a city, but we haven't exactly played our homegrown kids.
Absolutely 100% false. This has been a narrative, and I'm not attacking you, Marcus, at all, but this has been a narrative that some have really tried to push forward. As I said, New York City started 2 years before. They haven't played any homegrown kids for any minutes, hardly at all. Orlando started 2 years before Atlanta. Where are their homegrown kids? They had to go trade for one from Chicago. Minnesota doesn't have a homegrown. LAFC hasn't played a homegrown. They don't have a homegrown. Keep that in mind. Andrew Carleton's gotten minutes. Andrew Carleton has gotten opportunities. He also played a good bit with ATL UTD too. Andrew Carleton doesn't have a problem with his development right now. Who are you going to take out? This is the problem when this conversation comes up. What do you want to do? Do you not want to sign top players from international leagues? Do you not want to sign top players just to have a spot for Andrew Carleton to play? Or would you rather him earn that spot? And I think that's what he's in the process of doing. I don't think there's an issue with Andrew Carleton's development. I truly don't. I don't think there's an issue with George Bello's development. We're not hearing it about Bello at 16 who's getting minutes. I don't think there's an issue with it at all. You're not seeing homegrowns at these ages play tons and tons and tons of minutes around the league on a regular basis. The teams that are playing a lot of homegrown minutes are generally the teams who are not spending money. So there's a trade-off. Philadelphia is playing Austin Trusty and Mark McKenzie significant minutes because they're not signing a Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez type of center back. They're not signing a Michael Parkhurst type of center back. That's the trade-off. So Andrew Carleton's development is a positive, not a negative. I really think that narrative that's gotten started about, well, Andrew Carleton's going to leave, or Andrew Carleton's frustrated, or he's not seeing enough time, I just don't think it's true. I think he has made the most of the opportunities he's had. He's done well. He needs to play more next year. I 100% agree. That's his third professional season next year. That's where you should start seeing more minutes. Go look at other leagues around the world. You're not seeing guys in their first professional season play significant minutes. A lot of times you're not seeing guys in their second professional season play significant minutes. It takes time. I think Carleton's development has been very good. So I do push back on that conversation. It gets going at times because, one, you've got to make a decision. Do you want to be the Philadelphia Union and play a ton of homegrowns because you're not going to spend any money on anybody else? Or, do you want to have the situation you have here where talent that comes through has to be of the highest quality to earn those minutes, and they're going to have to fight for it? I'll take the latter. I will take the latter. To me, it's more interesting, and I'm not knocking Philadelphia. It's just you have an owner here who's willing to spend money, and you're able to get players in that are special. Andrew Carleton can be special, and I think he's benefiting from playing around these players. But it's not an easy process either way. It's not going to be simple either way, and I think Andrew Carleton's development has been good. I really do. And I know some will disagree with that, and that's completely cool, but I don't know if Andrew Carleton, if he came up in Philadelphia and was thrown into the starting lineup last year because you didn't have a playmaker, I don't know if you'd see the Andrew Carleton that you're seeing right now. I don't think you would.
Then last thing before we go to break, it's a two-step. Associate producer Emeritus Jay Riddle. The latest MLS narrative, Atlanta United have one win this season against the top 8 teams in the league, the LAFC drubbing. This narrative appears to be based on hard facts. No better time to change the narrative through action like the playoffs. I'm fired up. Then Nathan Lyons at FC Epigee. Things like this combined with recent form get me nervous. Then I see we're still 3-1 odds on co-favorites with Red Bulls, and I get pumped up again. # keep the faith.
It's not a narrative. It is fact. I mean, Atlanta United has one win against the top teams, but they also have some draws factored in here, and it hasn't been all bad either. You have to remember that. There are other teams in the top 8 that have been worse than Atlanta United. This is an opportunity. They do have to step up, and they have to show that they can get through a 2-leg series. It's not one game. It's not an all or nothing. It's not the same way the regular season's measured. It is a 180-minute match. And Atlanta United will have an opportunity to show that they can manage a match over that period of time. They can go on the road, get a result that's needed, and then do what they have to do at home. And in the second round, if it's against the Red Bulls, start at home, start well at home, and then go to Red Bull Arena and hold what you have. Or if you have to go find something in that game, you go find it. But postseason, in these series, you draw it on the road, you win at home, you're advancing every single time. And that's all Atlanta United has to do going forward. They need to have a better performance than they had in Toronto. It wasn't good enough. It was a bad start. And if you start poorly in these games, you're going to run yourself into the ground trying to get back into it. You have to have a better start than what we saw in Toronto. I think this team is absolutely capable of it. But we have to see it, and it starts on Sunday.
And when we come back, it'll be some stuff about the secret 11th hour.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we have some secret 11th hour material and stuff on the Grant Wall proposal and your proposal as well. And Gustavo has some stuff about the Copa Libertadores as well.
Hola, Gustavo. We'll be right back.
Oh, Gustavo.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, October 31st, Halloween edition of a Wall Pass Wednesday. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this morning. What do we have on the Twitters, John?
Okay. Secret 11th hour material. Starting with Joe Bost. Hashtag Wall Pass Wednesday. Pumpkin pie and pumpkin cranberry bread are good. Pumpkin anything else is bad.
Pumpkin pie is good. Pumpkin bread is good. Pumpkin muffins are good. Pumpkin soup is good. And roasted pumpkin seeds are good. That's where my pumpkin goodness comes from.
Yeah.
Pumpkin cranberry? That's interesting.
And then Andrew Baker wanted to know if the Brunswick stew argument was going to make a comeback today. There are important discussions and really important discussions. This is the latter. Hashtag food down here. Amen, brother.
No. Don't even try. It's done.
Tim Russell, when we were discussing the tweaking of the playoff format, says he'd get rid of it completely. 34 games over 8 months establishes a clear champion. Playoffs are an American made-for-TV cash grab that distort the notion of what a champion is or should be.
But it doesn't, because you're not playing every team home and away. So that's why I don't think it works here. If you want to go to 40-something games, and play everybody home and away, then a regular season would determine a champion. But look, folks, you're never going to get away from playoffs in Major League Soccer. It's not going to happen. What I would like to see, and we talked about this at Fido last night after the broadcast in the Q&A portion on site, I want to see the Supporters Shield Trophy become bigger. There's a lot of things that make that a little complicated. It's not a Major League Soccer trophy. It is the Independent Supporters Council trophy. They control it. They control the branding of it. They control the use of it. Major League Soccer does not. You're going to have to create a partnership there to make that work so the league can talk about it more and push it more. I think that'll help its importance. I want to see it become more important. I think it's a cool opportunity to have multiple trophies. I think it's a good thing. It's what the NHL has kind of tried to do with a President's Trophy that is meaningless. Supporters Shield can have a lot of meaning, but you're never getting rid of playoffs. And I don't think you're ever going to see a balanced home and away schedule in MLS. You don't have the same travel that you do in other leagues. So I think you're always going to see some kind of conference play. And that's just the way it's going to go here. I don't think the format is enough to turn somebody off. And I see it sometimes and I hear it. And it's not England. It's not Germany. It's not Spain. It's what Major League Soccer does. And I hope that it's not going to make you, because they have a playoff format, I hope they're not going to make you not want to pay attention to the league. But I don't see it changing. I really don't. I want to see the Supporters Shield become bigger. I think that's the way that you find a balance between the two.
And then Gustavo says that according to the La Nación newspaper in Argentina, after what happened last night with the Copa, there is a CONMEBOL regulation by which Gremio could request the points for violation of Article 56, Section C, and it's an uppercase C. A serious incident established in the regulation that has had an impact on the outcome of the match. And they have up to 24 hours to present a formal protest in all of it for what Gallardo did in breaching his sanction by doing what he did with walkie-talkies and hats and coats and things like that.
I don't know what the precedent is, and I mean, I'm not up on my CONMEBOL controversial rulings before. It's a pretty bold breach of his suspension to do what he did. I don't know if it's enough to overturn a result. I guess it could be. But man, I mean, that would be full peak Copa Libertadores if the match is overturned because the manager did not live up to his suspension. My guess is Gallardo gets a ridiculously long suspension and fine, but I don't think you're overturning the result on the field.
According to La Nación, the background comes from overturning in Uruguay in 2017. Team lost a game when their coach was in the locker room despite a penalty. Expelled when his team lost 4-3 to Nacional on the following date. He gave directions from the stall, showed up in the dressing room. Danubio presented a complaint to the Tribunal of the Uruguayan Association as soon as the match ended. A few days later, they resolved to give the game to the opponent by 3-0. So there is precedent, apparently, but CONMEBOL Article 56.
Wait a minute. There's precedent in CONMEBOL play or in Uruguayan league play?
I'm looking through a translation, so I can't give you that answer.
They went to a Uruguayan tribunal to get something that would be Uruguayan competition. That's a whole different setup.
Okay. So, yes, I'm reading through
that necessarily applies. I don't think that necessarily applies because of that. There's no telling. I mean, it's tricky because, I mean, the guy's suspended and the guy had a hand in the match. I don't think there's any way to – I mean, he admitted it. You're not getting out of it. He admitted it. He said, I went to the locker room. The walkie-talkie thing, put it to the side. He went to the locker room. He admitted he went to the locker room. So – what's the penalty going to be for his transgression. Are you going to take away the result? That is going to set off a lot of controversy if you do. It might be the right thing to do. I don't know, but it's going to be ugly if that's the way they go down.
That would be out there for anything and everything. Katie Weaver with a question about the playoffs. Hashtag Wallpass Wednesday. Do teams get an extra charter travel pass for playoff matches?
I don't think the charter rules apply to the playoffs. I don't have that confirmed, but I don't think that they do. I'm not 100% sure, though. I'll have to try to find out on that one.
And she's also proposing
that.
Go for it, Jared.
Do the charter rules apply to CONCACAF Champions League? Could the team charter all their flights there?
No, they don't apply to that because that's not an MLS competition, so it would have nothing to do with it.
So I assume the team it's going to charter every flight out of the United States if they can.
I would think so, but I mean, the one thing, and I was having this conversation with somebody earlier this week, Atlanta United only chartered one flight this past season back from San Jose. Atlanta's in a different situation with the airport that we have here, and you can fly direct almost anywhere you want to go. So you don't always have to charter. That's been a nice bonus of being in Atlanta. I think other teams and in other cities, charter is a greater need because of that. I mean, chartering is expensive. Let's not act like, it's no big deal. Let's just charter because it's better. It's very expensive. I mean, you're seeing, I think even a few years ago, not every NBA team chartered every trip. And there's been talk in college now that you're seeing some colleges not charter every trip. So it's an expensive prospect. I think Atlanta's lucky in that they don't have to charter all the time because of the number of flights out of Atlanta. But CONCACAF, I think, is a little bit different scenario, and you will likely see that, partially because you want to get back as soon as possible for league matches.
And Katie's also proposing a secret fifth hour with a Soccer Down Here show about all the South American soccer madness and recruiting target updates.
Oh boy. I think we need all these secret hours. We're just going to be on the air all the time. Just get used to it.
Yes.
Get ready for
agreed.
it. That's where we'll be. Sponsors, hello. We'll be ready for that. The Uruguayan thing. Yeah, it was an Uruguayan league match or cup or what have you. It was not a CONMEBOL match. So citing that one in the Copa Libertadores, I don't think that's going to fly. If the Uruguayan Federation made the decision that, yes, the person was suspended and they showed up and they shouldn't have, that is an Uruguayan decision, not a CONMEBOL decision. So they don't necessarily have anything to do with one another.
And before we go to break, one last thing from Joe Bost. Hashtag Wallpass Wednesday. He says, it was awesome to read the picks on at Longshoe. I think most people don't know things like that about the people we see or hear on radio or TV. I admire your drive and passion. Thanks for doing what you do for the fans.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who's had a chance to watch the documentary that Valverde and Styles put together. That was a pretty cool process, and it's awkward to do that and have to talk about yourself and have people talk about you and all that. It was kind of weird, but I mean, the finished product was pretty cool. And thanks to everybody who's watched it and all the really kind words that have been said about it. I really appreciate it.
And, it was really cool to be asked to be a part of it and to get to speak your mind and speak the truth about something that was a really easy topic. Jarrett and I sitting at a bench in a park, getting to talk about someone who's a good friend that we get to hang out with every day, either verbally or face to face or both. So no, it was very, very cool to be able to be a part of something like that.
All right, we're going to go to break, come back. Final chance for your Wallpass Wednesday questions and comments. Send them our way on Twitter at SoccerDownHere, and we'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative, and that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski and Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Final segment, Soccer Down Here, October 31st, Halloween edition, Wall Pass Wednesday. If you have any Wall Pass Wednesday questions or comments, get them in now. We have at least one more, John.
Yep, from Josh Eisenberg in discussing homegrowns, and was coming off of the homegrown discussion that we've been having this morning. And Josh says, depending on how the next couple of seasons play out, Bello could get good minutes next year, and if he keeps progressing, he could be sold on by 2020.
I could. I mean, he could stay here as well. That's the thing about 2020. Who knows where things stand? Darren Hill said it before this season that, yeah, you're going to have guys who come here at a young age. You're going to develop guys, and you're going to sell them on. That's the nature of the business. What he'd love to see in the next few years is the club and the league grow to a point that players don't feel like they have to move on, that they can weigh their options in playing in Atlanta versus playing in Europe and make decisions based club by club and deal by deal rather than just, I got to go to Europe because that's where I need to go. 2020, maybe it's not quite there yet. 2022, 2023, 24, 25. Yeah, I think now, honestly, it's not as simple of a decision as it was. Because if you're going to go to Sweden or Norway or Finland, which is where American players from MLS or just players from MLS have gone in the past, do you want to go there and play in front of 10,000 people a game and be cold, or be in Atlanta and play in front of 50,000 plus, sometimes 70,000 plus, and live in this environment? I think it's not as easy of a decision. Now, then you take the next step up. Do you want to go to a mid-table Premier League or championship team, or mid-table Serie A or Germany or what have you, or do you want to stay in Atlanta? It's a little bit tougher decision, and there's some soccer-related things that come into play that make it a very interesting dilemma there. So for Atlanta to be at that stage already, that's really cool. I think it's only going to grow, and I think it's only going to become more and more of a situation where a guy like George Bello doesn't have to be sold on in 2 years when he is 18. He might want to stay here and continue developing as one of the best left backs in the United States. I think we need to open our minds up to the fact that MLS, it will not always be a lesser league to everybody in the world. I think you can start to believe that that's not going to be the case forever. It's okay. That's what MLS should be striving for. It's what they should work to. And I think they are. And I think Atlanta is a big part of pushing the league forward to that.
We got playoff action tonight. Or tomorrow.
We do.
This is well past Wednesday. I'm getting my days mixed up completely this week.
So John doesn't even know what day it is. That's why I cannot take his opinions on pumpkin seriously.
There you go.
Yes, tonight, New York City FC hosting the Philadelphia Union, 3 versus 6. Dallas hosting the Portland Timbers, 4 versus 5 in the West. Jarrett, who you got in the Eastern Conference matchup?
Oh man. As he dies on air.
That's
good. A good way to go about life. Yeah, it's a good start.
Boost our ratings.
All right, which one's tonight? I've lost track. I'm just like John.
Wow, guys. Tonight, New York City FC and Philadelphia. Who you got?
Give me Philadelphia in the upset.
Oh.
Why?
Give me Philadelphia. I think they get a goal from a New York City mistake, and they're able to see it out. I think it's not going to be a matter of NYC playing poorly. I think Philadelphia is just going to find a way to put across a goal one way or another early, and they're going to be able to see it out. And I don't think it's going to be a matter of Herrera is going to do fine in the role now that he's healthy, but I think they'll be okay. I think Philadelphia manages to pull this off.
John, who you got?
I'll go with NYCFC. I'll go with the home team and go with chalk in the first matchup.
Why?
I just think that everything goes back, for me, it goes back to having Herrera. And I think that, them getting healthy and them being at home, and it's a one-off on the futsal pitch in the Bronx. I think that it's going to be NYCFC.
I think Villa gets a goal. I think NYC finds another one, maybe from Maxi Morales, and they win 2-1. I don't think it'll be pretty. I think it'll be a difficult 2-1. Philly will push them, and it'll be 1-1 with a late winner, probably from a David Villa, and NYC moves on 2-1. Western Conference, Dallas hosting Portland. Jarrett, who you got?
Western Conference, I'm going to go straight up today. I think Portland gets it done on the road. I think their defense is good enough, and I think it's going to end up going to penalties, honestly, and I think Portland will get it done in penalties on the road. They'll have a solid performance, and Dallas hasn't been perfect as the hot take siren goes flying past.
It does.
Bomba de Pereira.
Yeah. Dallas hasn't been perfect, and I think it comes back to bite them here. They're not able to bury Portland early in the game. Portland grows into the game. The defense stands up, and I think it goes to penalties where Portland gets the job done.
John, thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go with Portland here too, because we've been discussing which one we thought would be the higher seed that might get bit in the first round, and I'll go with Portland just because of recent form of FCD. I've got more questions than answers right now about them, right now. So I'll go with Portland in the upset.
You don't lose to Colorado on decision day and win in the knockout round. It does not happen. Dallas will get knocked out tonight by Portland. Sebastian Blanco will have himself a night. I think the Timbers win 2-0. I think it's a pretty comfortable win for the Timbers. We'll talk about tomorrow's games tomorrow, but yeah, you guys who are listening, chime in with your predictions on the knockout round games tonight. If NYC wins, then it would be New York City and Atlanta United in the Eastern Conference semifinal. Seen some questions and had some questions about kickoff times for both the 4th and the 11th. That won't be decided until all the matchups are decided. The way the TV contract works out, you have Fox and ESPN who will be splitting up the games and basically like drafting 4 time slots. So you can't do that until you know what the matchups are going to be. If you have a scenario, which I think is likely, of Atlanta and NYC and New York and DC in the Eastern Conference, Seattle and LAFC in the Western Conference alongside Kansas City, Portland, those are 3 of the 4 are pretty high-profile matchups involving some big TV markets, and you're going to have to kind of battle it out and see how it works out between the two networks and where they draft slots, what they prioritize. And I really wonder where the Western Conference one goes. Do they look at Seattle, LA as drawing the best ratings in a West Coast primetime situation, going, the 10 o'clock, the late game? Or do they want it in an afternoon slot in the Western time zone and put it at like a 5 o'clock or a 7 o'clock Eastern time? So stay tuned. We won't know until Thursday night. It's probably all the contingencies are out there, but we just won't know exactly where it slots in. I think Atlanta United will end up, likely in a 5 or 7 o'clock roughly kickoff time on Sunday. There is a possibility, depending on how things go, that it could fall into the early slot, a 3 or 3:30. I'm not sure what the actual kickoff times are for this week. And I think the second game would probably be a little bit more of a primetime game, like a 5 or a 7. So stay tuned. But, yeah, that's why it's not announced yet, because TV matchups aren't decided. So the TV matches and networks and all that aren't decided yet. So have to wait up a little bit. Sorry.
What?
Yeah, it's MLS being MLS. That's what we always say. Anything that happens, it's always MLS's fault. This one is not. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just you got to get time slots sorted out. I mean, you want the games to be watched on TV. We want the ratings to be good. So there you go.
Okay, I have a question that is a Wall Pass Wednesday question for the remainder of the show here.
Okay.
And this is for both of you and for everybody else who's listening, however you're accessing this. If you could have any soccer announcer call the match that you're watching, who would it be? If you could have one guy, it's like, I'm going to watch whatever the game is. If you could choose your play-by-play and color guy, who would they be?
Jarrett?
That's a good question. Lately, can I have El Presidente? I get it that it doesn't work for some people, that he's too kind of off the wall, but I like announcers who have fun with the game, because it is a game. It should be fun.
So if you had Max Bretos, you want to have Max Bretos do play-by-play?
Probably.
And have
or if you want to get weird, just have like Ian Dark do play-by-play with him, just so you can have the clashing of styles in such a violent way. But yeah, probably Bretos.
Well, it depends on the game. So if it's just a random regular season game, the Max and Fernando Fiore match earlier this season was just incredibly bonkers for a regular season match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. For a playoff match, a big match, a decider, I'd probably want it a little more traditional, just a little bit. I love a guy like Jorge Perez Navarro, who finds that right mix between having fun but also capturing the emotion of it. I'd love to see a pairing, and we're crossing network streams here, but I think Perez Navarro and Alejandro Moreno would be a great pair, because they can both be serious, they can both be funny, they can both be entertaining, they can both be passionate. I think they kind of cross all of the gamut here for what you want out of a broadcast crew. So yeah, I'd like to see that pairing on really any games. I think they could make a random regular season game fun, but I think they could also make a big cup game fun too.
Yeah, no, I like Max and El Presidente, and I think that would be fun to have JPN and Moreno. I think that that'd be a hoot too.
I like Max on play-by-play a lot. I've always been a fan of Max on play-by-play, going back to the Fox Soccer Channel days. We'll go into stoppage time for just a little bit here. There's a lot of good announcers around the league. And I mean, it's, it takes time. You didn't have a lot of opportunities to call games until fairly recently, but there's a lot of great announcers around the league. I like the crew out in Portland. Ziven is one of the best play-by-play guys in the league. I think he does great work, whether it's TV or radio. Nate Bacady in Kansas City is excellent. Usually it's Bacady and Matty Lawrence. Lawrence pops up on NYCFC radio as well with our friend Glenn Crooks. That's another great team. Who else stands out to you, John?
Well, I mean, I'm old school. I like John Paul Della Camera.
Oh, obviously, yes.
And then John and Stu, I have to go there. But no, I like the Ziven poll. I thought that was a good one. And yeah, Max and Fiore for just any game. But I'd love to see them in a playoff setting. But yeah, I'm old school since I'm 74 years old. And for me, the first guy that gravitated to my brain was John Paul, Hall of Famer.
And our friend Joe Bost is yelling at us. I am not going to toot our own collective horns with myself and Mike, so I'm not going to do that. I've loved working with Mike. It's been a blast this season. But yeah, I'm not going to toot our horns about where we stand and things. We're just having fun. We're doing our thing. I appreciate it though, Joe. Thank you.
Eric Schwartz says Ian Dark.
I really liked Ian Dark as he was starting to come into prominence. I mean, the Landon Donovan goal call was outstanding. I haven't liked his work as much lately. I haven't heard as much either. He's been doing more stuff in England, not as much in the U.S. I think it's harder for those guys when they come over and they kind of parachute in and drop in and do games. I don't think they get the character of the teams in the league and the competition as much doing that. It's hard to. I mean, it's really difficult to do that. I've always, out of this generation of English announcers, and so much of it's personal preference, and we know this. It's different people like different styles and different things. It's not a right or a wrong thing, to be honest. I've always loved John Champion's work, and he's probably been my favorite of that generation of English announcers.
Peter Drury.
I always go back to Champion. He's always been the guy for me.
Derek Ray for me. So I would go Champion.
Yeah, Derek Ray is, and Ray has worked in the United States a ton. He has a little bit different feel and approach to it because of that, I think. But Derek Ray is awesome. I mean, he was calling MLS in the first season.
Yeah, so for me, those would be the three that instantly come to mind. If you're talking about Premier League announcers, it would be Champion, Ray, and Peter Drury.
Good stuff. What I love though, and I think it's interesting that we hit on it. I don't know if everybody would agree. I love hearing more of the Latin influence on how the game sounds in the United States. And yeah, I'm a gringo and I don't speak Spanish, but I've probably been as influenced by the style and cadence and excitement levels and passion levels of games broadcast in Spanish, because I mean, I've watched games on Univision since I've had Univision, and now I watch games out of Argentina and watch Fox Deportes and all that as much as I can. So no, I'm not getting all of the context in every word, but the style, I think, has probably influenced me as much as anything, to be absolutely honest. And I love that that's becoming more prevalent and more just well-known in the United States in an English perspective. I love that ESPN and Fox have both taken chances on having guys call games, and Univision Deportes too, having guys call games in English from a Spanish-speaking perspective. Out of the guys who do that, Perez Navarro is my favorite. Fernando Palomo at ESPN is great as well. Palomo and Moreno were a great pair. I loved during the World Cup Perez Navarro and Trujillo. Thought they were a lot of fun, and to the point that people are like, man, do these guys not like each other? And I thought it was just a funny shtick that they had when they were going back and forth on different things. So It was good. I like that stuff is becoming more prevalent and just more accepted in the U.S. because I've felt for a long time that soccer in the United States is truly bilingual, even if people don't always realize it. And I think going forward, it has to be. So if you're wondering why I get so irritated about things being said about we're not going to consider a Spanish-speaking coach, that's why. I think you're just not paying attention. You're not paying attention to all of the leagues in the United States, from the Latino leagues that have some great soccer in them and great players in them, to clubs here in the Atlanta area like Alianza, who've produced professional players, and not many people talk about what Alianza has done, and Carlos Jacinto has done a great job building that club up, to high school programs like Southeast Whitfield and Gainesville and Johnson and Northeast Whitfield, who are winning state championships, predominantly Spanish speaking. It's very cool to see that become more of the mainstream of soccer in the United States. And I want to see the rest of the American soccer community embrace it more. And the announcing side is part of that embrace. It really is. So I love that Fox went out on the limb. I love that ESPN went on the limb previously. It needs to continue to happen more and more. And it's a bilingual sport in the United States. It's more than bilingual, but predominantly English, Spanish. And it's okay to embrace that.
Nothing wrong with multilingualism, because it opens your brain up to other things you might not have otherwise known.
What did you just say? Multi what?
What? Lingual.
I thought you said multilanguagism. I was like, wait a minute, what? That's a whole new word.
No. Multilingual, sir.
Multilingual, yes. Yes, very true. Multilanguagism would be about as bad as Canadian Brunswick stew.
Exactly. Geographic.
No, don't even. Geographic has nothing to do with Brunswick stew. All right. I think that's it for today. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for everybody hanging out with us. Thanks for all the great questions. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down 2 knockout round matchups, previewing 2 more. We might know who Atlanta United faces in the Eastern Conference semifinals at around 9:30 or so tonight. We might have to wait till tomorrow to see if Philadelphia pulls off an upset. So we'll be back 9 in the morning, soccerdownhere.net, Soccer Down Here app, Spreaker. Thanks everybody for listening. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha lingualism, y'all.